their self-titled album, White Dynomite. That band's out of Boston, and they just signed with Ripple Music, and we're going to be finding out about that and more bands, as we heard from 8 Machine, who just left on tour, and we heard from Grifter right there starting the show off. And on the line right now is the man who knows all these bands, knows all this rock and more, Todd Severin of Ripple Music. Todd, what's going on tonight, man?
Not much, brother. How you doing tonight?
Oh, man, we're doing great. Excited that the rains finally came back to Portland. It's starting to feel natural again, and we're excited to be checking in on a lot of this great music that Ripple Music has been going on, man. You're on a trip right now. We appreciate you definitely giving us time to talk about all the great music that you have going on and the great rock that's going on these days, I think, anyway, on a positive note. So, Todd, introduce Ripple Music, man. What's up with Ripple Music? Who in the hell is it?
Yeah. Well, Ripple Music started, the record label anyway, started about 5 years ago. My partner, the Pope, and I run the Ripple Effect review site, which is over at www.ripplemusic.blogspot.com, and we've been writing about music for about 4 or 5 years, and finally, we got to know so many bands just from interacting with them that one of our old legends, just the proto-metal, acid rock gods of the 70s, who nobody had ever heard of, called the JPT Scare Band, sent me this fully mastered, never released disc. And I kind of gotten to know the guys just from reviewing their music in the past and talking to the drummer, and I said, this is some badass stuff, but what do you want me to do with it? It's not released. Nobody can hear it, so why are you sending it to me for review? And he goes, I'm not sending it to review, man. I want you to put it out for me. What? What are you talking about? And, we thought about it, and, as you said, this heavy rock scene it's burgeoning right now. It's growing, and there's a lot of excitement, and there's just fantastic bands that are coming out. Seemingly every day a new band comes to my attention. And, again, this was about 5 years ago, and it's just like, you know what? Why not? We can do this. I spent about a year researching what it meant to be a record label, because that's all changed, what we can do for the bands, how we wanted to do it for the bands. And then in, I guess it was like July of 2010, we released JPT Scare Band Acid Blues as the White Man's Burden. And that was the first Ripple release. Now we're 32 releases down the road.
That is amazing. Yeah, you guys are, what's great about Ripple Music is, you guys are fans, and you guys just said, hey, we love bands, we love music, we love what we're doing. Let's just do this. Let's don't worry about anyone else, and let's take this upon ourselves, and let's do this. And I think that's one of the great things about Ripple, and that definitely shows in the success that you guys are having right now, if I can use that word, because for me, the vibe that you guys have, don't the bands have a certain flavor?
You mean for Ripple Music?
Ripple Music, absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely, for Ripple Music. That's one of the things that stands out, is the flavor that Ripple Music has.
Right, so the way we look at it is that we just call it heavy rock. We're not a stoner label, we're not a doom label, we're not a sludge label, but we're all of those. What we just think of it as just heavy rock. It's always got to have a groove. If you listen to Ripple Music, there's this strong, good rock flavor that runs through it. If it's metal, fine, it's going to rock. If it's doom, fine, but it's got to rock. There's always that, almost like a butt-shaking quality to a lot of Ripple music. You can almost say it makes you ripple. You got the ripples going there because it's just got a heavy groove to it. And that's what we love. It's Pope and I kind of came to music from a slightly different perspective. If you want to kind of trace our heavy roots back, I came from a Black Sabbath camp. He came from a Iron Maiden camp, particularly a Dickinson camp, where with Maiden I come from a Diano camp. So we have a little bit of difference, but the space that we unify is that Ripple sound. It's that heavy rocking, grooving sound. That's what Ripple is.
That's amazing, and that is, I totally agree 100%, and what's one of the things that we here at 420 Radio love about playing Ripple music. So we came into the segment right there with a brand new signed band to Ripple Music, White Dynomite. Out of Boston, this band, Thrasher listeners will remember Jay Fortin from Scissor Fight. We've played on this show many, many times. Talk about White Dynomite.
Yeah, aren't they cool? I mean, they have this fun sound too. To me, they're kind of like MC5 meets the New York Dolls mixed up with a little bit of sweet. And they got this glammy, punky sort of thrashy sound to them. But the way they came to me, again, kind of in the end, everything keeps coming back to this whole thing that is Ripple, which started with the Ripple Effect, which, by the way, we still run. Despite the label going on and on, I still work. I have a great partner who's helping me right now, named Tenfold. We're working every day, and the Ripple Effect is still reviewing every single day, and bands are still sending stuff in. And through the Ripple Effect, I got to know a band from Boston called Roadsaw. You know Roadsaw?
Love Roadsaw.
Oh, hell yeah.
Played them on here many times, signed to Small Stone Records, great band.
Yeah, exactly. And the Small Stone, the debut that Small Stone put out last year was just kick-ass. So Roadsaw kind of went on a little bit of hiatus, and two of the members of Roadsaw, Tim Katz and Craig Riggs, did this side band called White Dynomite. And I, again, interacted with them because I had reviewed the Roadsaw stuff, which was just killer. And, the White Dynomite, they kind of self-released the CD last year, and I heard it, and it was fun, and it was great, and we reviewed it, and yada, yada. And that was kind of the end of the story until about 6 months ago, just out of nowhere, I get a phone call from Tim Katz. He says, Todd, I want Ripple to put out White Dynomite. I said, okay. And that was the end of that conversation. Of course I will, man. Are you kidding me? It's a badass record. You guys are awesome. Roadsaw is amazing. So it was really that simple. I spoke with Tim a number of times. We had great conversations. We dissected every Kiss album down to the songs, It's like, yeah, it was one of those really good conversations. And we knew that we just had a good chemistry together, and we got the album out. We did the vinyl because they didn't have a vinyl before. And now the boys are on tour. In fact, I'm going to be seeing them when I get back to my hometown next week or so. They're coming by San Francisco. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's outstanding. Saw a great picture of you and Dave Sherman of Weed is Weed, who just released a reissue self-titled album, Weed is Weed, this week. Talk about Weed is Weed.
Yeah, there you go again, As Ripple Music, we sponsor an annual heavy rock festival in Dallas. It's started by a guy named Big J Brockington in Dallas. It's called the Metroplex Heavy Fest. If any of your listeners in Dallas, you got to check it out every year because it keeps growing. It's been at the Boiler Room every year. The first year was the year that we actually got to meet Mothership for the first time, which led to us signing with Mothership. And while we were there that year to see the bands and just, sponsor our first festival, which was just fun to be involved with, Jay comes up to me and says, hey, Dave Sherman's going to be emceeing the show. He needs a place to stay. I said, I got a couch. Next thing you know, Dave Sherman's sleeping on my couch for 4 days. And we got to know him, and, same sort of thing. At the end of the festival, he came up to me, and I don't know if you've ever heard Dave talk, but he comes up and he goes, Todd, I love you, man. I love you. I love Ripple. You got to put out my record. And again, what do you do? When you have guys like Dave Sherman or Tim Katz coming up to you, your answer is always the same.
That is outstanding.
Of course.
Yeah, you do, man.
Dave, you're a legend, man. You've been with Wino and Spirit Caravan, and Gary Isom was also in Weed is Weed, and you got Earthride, and Gary's been in Pentagram and Iron Man. This is a legendary band. This is your new stuff. We'd love to get behind it and help you out. So we got that. That and White Dynomite both got released on the same day just this week.
Absolutely great. Talking with Todd Severin of Ripple Music right now. You mentioned Mothership, which is exactly how I found out about Ripple Music. I went to we were doing some work, doing a show, a Gypsy Hawk show, and I was interviewing those guys out, and Mothership was opening up for these guys. and had no clue who they were. And me and Kyle just started talking just in the parking lot and found out about Mothership. And you talk about a band from Texas. These guys know how to mix a Pantera sound with a southern rock and equals a freaking Mothership. They have a brand new album coming out. Talk about Mothership.
Yeah, you kind of summed it up. These guys are something special. So Bill Goodman, who is formerly of the Soda Shop, and he's got his own site now called The Evil Engineer. I don't know if you know Bill, who was at the Soda Shop, but Bill's got an ear. I'm sorry?
Not familiar with Bill.
Oh, you got to get to know it. If you want to know what's going on with music, you always got to check in with Bill Goodman, because the Soda Shop was a great site. It's down now. He took hiatus. He was kind of hanging out with Ripple for a while. He's kind of doing his own thing right now called The Evil Engineer. And in fact, I'll be seeing Bill on this trip. I'm in Chicago right now, so he and I always get together at least once and go record shopping when I get out this way. But he sent me something about Mothership a long time ago, and I just quite honestly never had a chance to listen to it. It's like you, man. So much music comes in, you just got to find the time. And as the show was starting to get together and Big J's putting together the lineup, he says, "Hey, man, when you get down here, there's this one band you got to check out. It's called Mothership." And I go, "Cool, I'd love to." So actually the night before the show, we met the guys, hung out, just had some beers and some bourbons, and just had a good time. Next day, we go to the show, and it was a moment. Mm-hmm. You had those moments. You're standing in the audience, a band takes the stage, and you're just sitting there. Your cheeks are riveting from the sound that's pummeling you, and you just like, "Oh my God, these guys have it. Whatever it is, the magic it. These guys are rock stars." Well, Kelly's just a killer on guitar. He looks kind of like Rory Gallagher, and he just plays a little bit like Schenker, and he just tears it up. And Kyle's this big, burly, hairy drummer. A bass player dude, who's got the deeper voice and just kind of holds it all rock solid. And you got the Judge in the background and pounding away on the skins. He said, these guys are out of control. So they're a family band. You got the two brothers. The dad actually was the original drummer in the band, and he's since, stepped aside for Judge. But it's still a family affair. So like the next night, we go out to Italian dinner with the family, mom and dad and the sister. We're talking. Whole family's part of this decision. The guys decided to sign with Ripple. Put out that first album, which is, without a doubt, our best-selling album as far as the newer bands go.
Wow, great to hear.
We can't keep it in press. We've gone through our third pressing of vinyl, multiple pressings of CD, and next month we got the second album. The release party's coming up at the Curtain Club in Dallas. It's going to be huge. It's even heavier than the first one. Really good stuff.
Very exciting. We'll definitely keep you posted on all Mothership and all Ripple Music bands right here at 420 Radio. Todd, just a couple minutes left. I know you're busy, man, on a trip and everything. We got a lot of bands that listen too, man. What can they do, man? Tell them some positive stuff about the music industry. When I first started talking to you, I felt it in your voice, man. You're fired up about the industry right now, right? You see positive things, not negative.
Oh, God, yeah. In fact, again, we started 5 years ago, so we were a tiny bit ahead of the scene. But what I'm seeing is, number one, a bunch of smaller labels are coming out, and the labels are all they're all DIY, and they're all coming together with this attitude that's like, hey, what you're doing is cool, what I'm doing is cool, and what that guy's doing is cool. How about if we support each other rather than compete against each other? And so you got labels like STB Records, and you got Heavy Sights, you got Magnetic Eye Records, you got, Easy Rider Records, so I think goes by Riding Easy Records these days. You got these smaller labels who are all DIY, and they're all, mining deep into the scene to find some really good stuff. And it's all done in a positive way, trying to help each other, help the scene, help the bands, rather than just competing to try and get everything you can get out of the market. And that's great, because the scene right now, to me, is healthier than it's been in the 5 years that we've been involved. Vinyl records are selling like crazy, and that's awesome, because it's not a fad. This is not just something which is cool. This is real. These are the old folks getting back into vinyl, and it's the young kids who are getting into it, who are just loving the sound, loving the feeling of the product, loving holding it, loving seeing it. It's real, and it's going to last. This isn't something which is going to just fade away. In fact, I just saw something today from England that vinyl sales in the UK are higher than they've been any time in the last 20 years, which is great.
Wow.
So you got better bands coming out. You got a lot of great label support them. And I do want to throw a little love out there to Smallstone. We talked about him before, but Scott Hamilton at Smallstone really kept the torch of heavy music going through the 90s into early 2000s when that scene wasn't really so strong. He never gave up on it. And Smallstone is still going really strong.
Yeah, I can't say enough things about Smallstone Records and Scott Hamilton and yourself, Ripple Music. I'm telling you, I'm putting you guys up there with them, man. You guys and the work you guys are doing is great. Real quickly, man, got a few bands listening. You said they have hope. How can what's one advice you can give them as far as sending stuff in?
Well, actually, if I can be a little corporate on you for that way, the one advice is be professional. Yeah, be serious about your product. Be serious about what you're doing. Let's be real. I mean, tons of bands are out there. Tons of bands are sending stuff in. Think about what you're doing. Get a real product together. Don't release it out to the world if you want a label to release it. It's harder to release something that's already been released. But approach the labels that you want. Let them know who you are. Let them know who you've played with. Let them know what your plans are for the future, because the label wants to have a band that they can be a partner with, just like the bands want a label they can partner with. So approach it professionally. The more professional you are about it, the better you're going to look and the better it's all going to come across.
Outstanding advice right there for all you musicians, and you guys keep it up, man. I'm real fired up about where the music is going right now, and it excites me to come in here every Friday night and play Ripple Music and Smallstone Records and all these other great labels. Todd, it's been a pleasure talking with you, man. I look forward to playing Ripple Music. I really appreciate everything you and Pope have done, and we're definitely going to keep pushing the Ripple effect.
Oh, man, thank you so much, and thank you for all of your support over the years, man. It's been immeasurable to us, you and everybody else who's been supporting Ripple, and I will make sure that I always get all the good Ripple music right into your hands.
Right on, brother. Todd, you have a great trip in Chicago. We're going with the Mothership. Turn it up, folks.